Hey, how's it going everyone? We're gonna shake things up a little bit with this video because it's pretty rare for me to just sit down and talk to you guys like this, but I figured I'd tell you all a little bit about my college freshman year and how it was changed by the COVID-19 pandemic. So, starting off, I assume all of you watching know that there has been a global pandemic for over a year now. Anyone watching is well aware that a lot of trouble and chaos has come thanks to our favorite party animal, the coronavirus. Going to school during a pandemic is most definitely not the most troubling situation that resulted from all of this, but of course, like everything else, it had its problems, and I figured someone out there is probably curious to know more about my class's experience for this past school year. So, what happened? Well, after a very messy end to high school and a couple months of isolation, masks, and social distancing like the rest of the world, we suddenly found ourselves seemingly freed from the pandemic prison. It felt like college would be a breath of fresh air where we could finally hang out with friends, get involved with society again. It was sad to see my high school friends move away, especially the ones I never got to say goodbye to, but at the same time, college was going to be exhilarating. For the fall semester, all of my classes were in an online format. In fact, there were very few classes that could actually meet in person. This meant hours of Zoom meetings each day and spending the majority of my day at my desk in my dorm. Through the structure, it was kind of hard to meet people like I'd hoped to, but in the end, college is ultimately about getting that degree, so I told myself it didn't matter and we could just wait. Campus life as I hear it's supposed to be was practically obliterated, unless of course I'm just a sheltered nerd that didn't hear about anything. All I saw were friends, maybe 2 or 3, just sitting and eating and talking and just walking around the abnormally quiet campus. The school did still hold some events, but these were all online to keep everyone distance. All classroom buildings were closed. The libraries were open, but I think they were at 25% capacity. So it was really only the gym, the dining halls, and the dorms that were open. For the entire first 2 weeks, the fall semester was pretty great. I had the privilege of being able to move on campus, and I looked forward to familiarizing myself with UF's campus and becoming an independent liver. I was able to see some high school friends that I hadn't really seen since the pandemic started, so that was nice. The classes weren't too bad, and I was able to bond with my cool new roommate, so it felt like everything was going to be okay. And then things kind of started going downhill a little bit when I was exposed for the first time and I had to quarantine. So during this time, I was able to take advantage of the online format and move all of my stuff over to my house where I could just do college in my bedroom. Got a little lonely, but at this point, I think everyone was pretty much used to it, so I couldn't really complain. And honestly, I was just kind of thankful enough to be able to be on campus for the fall, because not many people were given the opportunity to even think about doing that. And I was able to move back. It was about the time that classes started to pick up and everyone I was around entered into workaholic mode. Unless that was just me, I don't know. But now that the initial hype was gone, I started being more closed off and focused on my studies. So, of course, it continued to feel lonely and made me, I just felt very dull. I think the New York Times called it languish. Most of this was due to the pandemic, but a chunk of it was my mind caught up in the thing that everyone told me college was supposed to be, with meeting new people each day, making new friends, discovering my interests. It hurt that I wasn't able to do these things, and I guess it kind of felt like I was losing valuable time just sitting in my dorm all day. I was just craving to go to parties and events and just have new friends all over campus, but it really wasn't feasible at the time. Thankfully, the friends I had already made and my family were there to keep me company and out of my head all the time. Even if I woke up feeling disconnected from the world, I had them. So in the end, the fall semester was sort of bland and dull, partly from COVID, partly from my own mistakes and fears. However, the experience allowed me to realize 2 things. One, life is kind of unpredictable, so if there's an obstacle along your path, you gotta at least try your best to move around it, at least get your foot around it. And then 2, despite being more difficult, it feels so much nicer to look at things through a glass half full perspective. Before this video, my impressions of my fall semester were very negative, and my mind painted it out as a lonely hellhole of endless homework. While there may be a small bit of truth to that, I realized that I was completely ignoring the positives. I had learned to live on my own. I actually did have a decent amount of social activity considering the circumstances, and even if it wasn't as much as I wanted. Flash forward, next semester was a huge step up. Half of my classes were still online, but I was able to cop a few in-person sections. And my favorite of these was a 4-person discussion section for my humanities course, which was the first time I was able to speak in a class in over a year, so it was nice. It was a lot more crowded now because all the people that stayed home for fall, well, at least some of them went to school for the spring. However, of course, there were still some people that stayed home. All was pretty good, but funny enough, I was exposed twice on the day before the semester started. So I started off with a bang in my 3rd pandemic quarantine for my first day of school, first 2 weeks of school. So somehow I managed not to contract the virus, even though I definitely should have, but I took that as a sign of things to come, and yeah, college was a lot nicer in spring. I was able to do some pretty cool activities, join a campus event planning committee. I took part in a theme park engineering design competition, and I was able to witness the campus closer to its normal state. I met my first non-roommate friends this time around, and I was able to partake in some study groups, to network with some people going through some similar classes and struggles that I was for physics and calculus. Eventually, many students began receiving the vaccine, and everything seemed like it was moving to blue skies ahead. While I was still a little bit closed off and preoccupied with my purposely heavy course load, I was able to experience some more of what college is supposed to be like, and began to feel more at home on campus. It was a great step up for what I assume will be a staircase into greatness. My biggest takeaways from this year, first, stop taking things for granted, because sometimes things disappear before you ever have the guts to reach for them, and that hurts, so maybe it's good to try. Second, as fun as it is to deny the human need for socialization, it starts to catch up with you, so definitely, as cringy and awkward and painful as it may be, look for at least one friend to help keep you happy and to help you with your schooling as you pour your soul into that homework. It's in our nature, we kind of need people. We can't really live alone, and plus you can probably learn a lot from them. Of course, the pandemic kind of messes with that, but it's still possible if you look in the right place, and if you can't figure that one out and your religious prank can help subvert that feeling. Next, if you're a nerd like me, don't forget to have fun, because there's a lot of it all over the place for you to take advantage of. Also, it's incredibly hard to be good at everything. If you are, I applaud you. Da Vinci would be proud. I kind of suck at conversing, and I let that kind of get in the way this year, so I definitely see that growth mindset is key, and accepting that you suck, but also accepting that life is a learning process and you can only get better as you go. Finally, don't let yourself get burned out by ignoring your needs. You're a beast, but you're also a machine that needs to be maintained. And also exercise, I forgot how great the rush is from it. Well, that is the story of my COVID freshman year. A weird time for sure, and hopefully one that won't happen again. I was thankful for the experience nonetheless, and I imagine it only goes up from here. If you're feeling like seeing the things I talked about in this video, you should totally check out my college vlogs, linked above. They aren't the best quality, but they do give you a peek into my experience. Also, I'd be happy to hear about your own stories from the pandemic, how it changed you and maybe what you've learned from it. Other than that, thank you for watching this video. Feel free to subscribe. I'm inches away from 100 subscribers and would totally appreciate your support. You can also like and comment on this video, and yeah, thank you and see you soon.